Greetings, citizens of the Intertubes. This is Richo, and this is the first video for my Incurably Curious channel. Today's topic is Anselm's ontological argument from a different angle. One of the most famous arguments for the existence of God is the ontological argument. Most famously by St. Anselm. I've seen plenty of videos talking about the ontological argument in various incarnations, both for and against. Many believers think that it's an impressive argument and a compelling argument, and most non-believers think it's the silliest argument for God that they know. I'm not going to exhaustively critique the argument itself. That's been done to death. I want to take a different approach and think about one of the major premises of the ontological argument. That is the notion of greatest possible being, and see what taking this premise seriously would mean for the God of various world religions. To Anselm, God is that being whose essence is such that no greater possible being could be imagined. The obvious problem with this premise is in the meaning of greater. The intended logic behind the need for this premise is clear. If we consider all the bananas in existence in the world at any moment, there will be a largest banana. We might not be able to actually locate that particular banana, but by logic and mathematical necessity, it must exist. But the problem with greatness is that it's not a quantity like mass or length or sweetness. There's no way to turn that into an unambiguous value that we can all agree on. If I have two bananas, I can easily tell you which is the longer, I can tell you which is the heavier, I can tell you which is the sweeter. But if I have two bananas, which is the greatest banana? The traditional answer to this question from theologians is that by greater they mean that God possesses every positive attribute to the highest degree. That doesn't help a great deal because it depends what we consider positive in respect of supernatural beings. How do we decide if it is a good or positive thing for a God to have more power over the world? My personal preference is for gods to have as little power as possible, thereby maximising the possibility of human freedom and dignity. But that's just my personal opinion. St. Anselm's personal opinion is that a God which existed would be greater than a God which didn't exist, and of course I have the opposite opinion. So the traditional answer is that the more powerful being would be the more perfect, that the more compassionate being would be the more perfect, that the more knowing being would be the more perfect, etc. And people will speak of positive attributes, and they consider power and wisdom and knowledge to be positive attributes. But we can see by this idea of the greatest possible being that it gives us a method or a heuristic for assessing candidates for the title of God with a capital G. So we can examine candidate God 1 powerful supernatural being that creates the universe and then has no idea how it's going to turn out. That cannot be the God that St. Anselm was thinking of, because we can easily, immediately imagine candidate God 2, which is exactly like candidate God 1, but does know how everything's going to turn out. So in this way, it gives us an algorithmic test that lets us consider candidate gods and rank them and eliminate pretenders to the throne. The final product of the process, the last God standing, is the real deal, and any lesser beings that we have considered cannot be the God, which the ontological argument is trying to prove. And then now I want to think about, if we take this seriously, what does that mean for the gods of various world religions? What does the ontological argument say about the God of the Bible, Yahweh or Allah? I would say that it doesn't help them in the slightest. Imagine a being which is in all respects identical to Yahweh, or Allah, that didn't tell Abraham to sacrifice his son and then restrain his hand at the last minute. I would say that that God is clearly a wiser and more compassionate God, and so I have imagined a greater being. And if we do this with every God of every world religion, we can always imagine a better and greater being. So, as an atheist, I'm actually quite fond of this principle. Thank you. Greetings, citizens of the Intertubes. Richo here. This is my first video for my Richo here. This is my first video for my I can't say it!